Today's episode is brought to you by Podbean. Have you been noticing the tumultuous atmosphere as of late? Do you feel like you have the answers to settle everybody down? Why not start a podcast? Go to podbean.com/catalyst and get your first month of hosting free. For the easiest, most affordable hosting site for podcasts, choose Podbean. All right, let's get into it. Hey, Catalyst crew. Welcome to Catalyst Corner, episode 40. Whew. It's Thursday, so we've got Jim F0123 Art on with us, and yeah, let's get into it. How you doing, Jim?
I'm doing okay. How you been?
Pretty good. Had a bit of a tragedy happen.
Yeah.
Lost our DTF printer. It went down.
Yeah,
motherboard fried and everything.
Terrible news.
Yeah, not a great feeling when you're deep with orders. So,
right, that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem
got it situated though.
Yeah, good.
Been doing it long enough now where it's not blind panic anymore.
Right,
but bad vibes.
Yeah, still, when you have those orders waiting.
Yeah, and people are happy. They dig them. So
exactly.
I want to keep those vibes
for
going.
Sure.
It was fucking cold.
Yeah. Last weekend we're 20 degrees below zero. Tomorrow's going to be in the 50s.
So we hit negative 18. I've never experienced negative 18, really. At least as far as I know.
Sure.
So I had to, I let the dogs out real quick because they can't stay out longer. They're paws free.
Sure.
And then I said, you know what? I'm going out there. So I took my shirt off.
Okay.
So I had my pants. I still had pants on.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Listen, if I had land, I would have went stark naked.
Yeah.
And I walked out.
Okay.
Just to feel it.
Sure.
Because I was like, I'm going to run back in. I'm not,
Right.
I'm not camping out here. I have to feel this.
Sure.
It was so cold when you breathe in, the water evaporated in my nose.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
I lasted 8 seconds,
Yeah,
maybe.
that's about all you could do.
Yeah, I don't know how, people can deal with that shit.
No, I don't see why people would want to.
No, but, you got people in fucking Alaska and then the scientists in the Arctic and shit.
Good luck to them.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Negative 108 on top of Mount Washington.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Coldest place on the planet.
Yeah, absolutely amazing that happened.
Fucking hate it.
It's awful.
Yeah,
awful.
And it's 50 degrees tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, I can't get a beat on, my body is just screaming. Because it's like, dude, what are we doing here?
Right, yeah. It's like you haven't experienced that before. And it's like, get me out of this situation.
Yeah. So I talked to Partially Proficient about this a little bit, but it's out now.
Sure.
So obviously there's been a huge controversy with the video game Hogwarts Legacy.
Right.
And I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan.
Nor am I.
Like I said, I read the books when I was a kid. I've seen the movies.
Yeah, I'm not a Harry Potter fan, but I'm not a Harry Potter hater. I'm neutral on the subject.
I would say at this point, I'm very neutral on it as well. But we got a code for the game. So I said, you know what? I'm going to, and I said I don't think playing this game has anything to do with transphobia.
Right.
And I've been playing it. And it's fun. It's a good game.
Yeah, that's what everybody's saying. Everybody has been thoroughly enjoying it. So
what I wanted to kind of cover was a couple of the things that have kind of popped up in regards to this. So obviously the big, controversy was some of the people from the trans community were saying that if you play this game, you're promoting or are in fact transphobic.
Right, which I think is a foolish statement to have.
Right. So obviously, J.K. Rowling and her views are a bit problematic.
Sure.
She's entitled to feel however she wants.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I would say that as far as history goes, she's on the wrong side.
Yeah, it's an archaic way of thinking.
Right.
Especially for a female. It's a little bit more archaic than I would expect a female viewpoint to be.
Yeah, well, for someone who wrote Harry Potter, which is supposed to be, very inclusive of everyone.
Right.
But whatever. That's neither here nor there. She's on her own fucking life path, like whatever.
Yeah.
The problem I have with it all is that why this game? Why not, you're taking to Twitter, which is owned by someone that says lots of transphobic shit, right? He's out there saying shit all the time. You don't boycott Twitter.
Right.
Right?
Well, that's because that's your
hard.
platform.
It's too hard.
Right.
So it's like you just picked low-hanging fruit to be able to attack.
Right.
And what's crazy to me is that there are people in the trans community that are playing this game on Twitch, right? Raising money for trans charities and still getting hate from the community. How can you what is wrong with you?
Yeah, this is why the problem, and you're seeing it across the board now with this. Is these activists
They're keyboard activists,
right?
They're not. They're not real activists.
No. The keyboard activists, the one that live in everything is on Twitter, like you just said.
Right.
They have such a skewed view of everything, and that's why their message never comes across in any way that's going to be acceptable. They come across as they're out of their mind lunatics, most of them are. That's a Sith mentality. Sure.
Right? I mean, like, you play this game, you're a transphobe. It's like, that's an absolute.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, in what, I just don't understand how you correlate that this is a game that was produced by a gaming company that took characters from a novel.
Well, it's her world. It's not even the characters, because it takes place like 100 years before.
Right, her world.
Yeah,
who she has no affiliation with this game.
Didn't write the game.
Right, wasn't a part of the creation of the game. It's just her name is on it because it's her world that she created.
Well, right, her name isn't even really on it, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah, but you know what I'm saying. It's
right. She's
Harry Potter. So,
right.
The affiliation part of it, and to sit there and say that this now translates to her viewpoints, and that if you play this game, you are lockstep with everything that she said. So that makes no sense.
So for one, I'm not even very far through it. It's hard to find the time, but there's a trans character in the game. Right? Like in the story.
Yeah.
You can also create a trans character. So there's nothing transphobic about the story.
Exactly.
But I want to take it a step further, because this is why I wanted to bring, because usually I talk to Paul about this, but I thought this kind of, for what we talk about, it kind of circles that sort of area. Did you see what they did? There were a couple of like random people. I don't know who. I'm not going to dox anyone. I don't even remember who it was. But they made a website that said, basically you could put your favorite Twitch streamer's name in, and it would tell you if they were streaming that wizard game. It was like thatwizardgame.com or something. Okay. That's Nazi shit.
Yeah. So what were you supposed to do then? Put that list out?
Well, no. You would. I guess the mentality would be, you would put your streamer's name in, see if they stream the game, and if they did, you would basically, quote unquote, cancel them.
Sure.
But that to me is like, so you're putting people's names in a database, and you want to use that information to punish them for streaming a video game, even if they're because a lot of the streamers are like, look, the only way I can feel okay about doing this now is if I have a charity event where any of the proceeds from the streams are going towards the trans community. And you want to fucking cancel these people? And you want to make a website that has a list?
But the thing is, you never will, because your reach is so small that you don't have any chance of canceling these people.
How do you not see that that's the same thing as what the other side does?
Right.
That is the same thing. Putting people into a database and then punishing them for something that doesn't, affect. It has nothing to do with hurting people.
Well, like I said, it's such a reach to try to say that you're transphobic if you play a video game that was created based on a universe created by this other person who has a stance on the trans community. To try to make that reach and connect all those dots is so insane.
Like, here's the thing, right? You know, I'm a huge fan of like Lovecraftian horror.
Yes.
Lovecraft was a fucking racist.
Sure, of course, because of the time.
Not even for the time, because I've watched a couple of, I've read a few biographies and watched a couple of documentaries on this guy. Even for the time, people were like, "Bro, you're pretty xenophobic." Like he was nuts even for the time.
Sure,
but his work has been reclaimed. Right? And it's like, okay, so there are problematic elements of it.
Sure.
It more so, I think, in his work than in J.K. Rowling's work.
Right.
But no one is going like, oh, you like Cthulhu? Racist.
Right.
No. It doesn't make you racist.
No.
We can acknowledge that the creators of these properties are flawed individuals.
Right.
And just because they have viewpoints that are, I would consider wrong, just flat, I'll flat out say it like that, or at least misguided in her case.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that the works that they produced aren't still good or can have good messages.
Yeah, but the other part of that is, though, that what J.K. Rowling's, not everybody disagrees with her. It's not she's not universally panned on her opinion. There are quite a few people that are in agreement with what she said. So it's not like where Lovecraft is going to say racist thing and everybody's going to say yes, that's a racist thing. There are people that are in agreement with what she's saying.
But what the problem with her is, the people she's aligning with right now are, very, dangerously close to fascism.
Sure.
One of the women was quoting Mein Kampf. Mm-hmm. You can't, come on.
Yeah.
Listen, when you're giving a speech and you drop Mein Kampf in a positive way,
yeah,
you're fucking insane.
Yeah, but on the flip side of that, putting names in a database and then
that's just as insane.
Right. It's the same thing as putting a friggin' pin lapel on what the Nazis were doing to label people. That's the same to try to cancel them.
That's my point to it, is that obviously it's a bit of a gross analogy, right?
Sure.
It's very different. It is.
Well, of course.
But in spirit, it is the same idea. I want to put these people in a database and punish them for something that they shouldn't be punished for.
Right. That there's absolutely no reason that this would be punishable nor cancelable because they want to play a video game.
But it's frustrating because it's, you know what it is? It's that thing where, you remember when Dahmer came out?
Yeah.
And people were like, awful. Mm-hmm. But then they fucking watched it. And it's like, look, if you're going to watch it, right, I don't need you to fucking be, feel good.
Sure.
But just be aware of what it is. If you use your iPhone, a child overseas fucking, suffered to make that for you. Mm-hmm. It's just how it is.
Right.
It's not good. If I could, if I had the power to change it, I would.
Sure.
But it's too much for someone like me.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna take that transphobic stance, you better fucking, go all in. Shut off your Twitter.
Right.
You have to get rid of all of that shit.
Yeah. No. Exactly. And on the flip side of that, though, everything that you're doing better be clean as hell.
Right.
Because I guarantee it's not.
Right. If you're going to take that fucking stance, right?
Right.
So
don't pick and choose what you find acceptable. If you're gonna try to cancel people, then you better be clean with everything you do.
Right. And it's just it's been bothering me because it just doesn't add up.
No, it doesn't.
It just doesn't add up. And I don't as I said with partially proficient, I don't think rolling is right.
No.
But I don't think that these members of the trans community that have tried yet again to cancel people are right either. Especially when it comes to this game, which is a very welcoming environment. There's a huge amount of diversity.
Mm-hmm.
There are all sorts of, genders and everything in there.
Yeah, no, this was a play that did not pan out for these trans activists on Twitter.
Not the people that are actually fighting and going to Washington and trying to make a difference for trans communities.
Exactly.
These are fucking keyboard warriors or people that have a YouTube channel that are making money off of your outrage.
Right, exactly. That's it.
Crazy. All right, let's move away from it.
Okay.
Have you seen anything?
I have.
Oh,
I have.
woo.
Hey, I liked that.
Yeah.
So you've heard of the movie The Orphan.
I've seen it.
You've seen it, of course. Well, so they came out with a second, which was a prequel called The Orphan First Kill.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I thought it was a TV show for some reason.
Yeah, no, it's a movie. It's a movie. So
is it the same girl?
Same girl.
Oh, wow.
Same girl. Here's the funny thing.
Yeah.
Right? So obviously it's years later from the...
Yeah.
But this is a prequel, right? So she's got to be younger.
Yeah.
She pulls it off. Like, I don't
Very
understand
scary.
how.
Very scary.
Like, this girl just...
Well, I mean, it's a big plot point in the first movie.
Yeah, but I'm like, I'm amazed that, like, she still looks like that this many years later, and she can still pull off looking like a young girl.
I like the
impressive.
I like the twist in that.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I watched Ghostland.
Oh, did you? How'd you like it?
Oh, I'm telling people about it.
Awesome. See,
Yeah, very good.
I'm glad I'm glad that it was as good as I thought it was.
Well, even knowing the twist,
right?
Like even after I watched it with my partner and didn't tell her what was going on, so I got to kind of see her reaction to it. But even knowing what was coming, oof.
Yeah. So this movie similar.
Okay, what do you got for me?
So the main character is in an asylum.
Sure.
Okay.
Right.
This is how it's starting, right? It's prequel. There's a new...
Well, is she a kid in this one? Because obviously, spoilers for The Orphan.
No, she's not.
Okay, so she's still an adult.
She's in her 30s still.
Okay.
So it's not... It's probably only a few years
before.
Prequel.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Not a very long time before.
So she's in the asylum. They know she's in her 30s?
Yes.
Okay.
So obviously they know how dangerous she is. Right. So she's in an asylum.
Yeah.
New person starts, right? She's going to be somebody that's working with the people that are in the asylum, right?
Therapist or whatever.
Therapist,
right?
right? So what happens is she ends up escaping.
Naturally.
In the therapist's car, right? Therapist takes her home. She kills the therapist.
As you do.
And she gets onto her computer, right? So that was just a quick thing. She gets on her computer and she's looking at missing children, right? She finds a family that has a daughter that's been missing for 4 years, and she does like a side-by-side comparison, and she's like, hey, I look like this little girl, but I'm, it's 4 years later, so
I can probably get away with it.
I can pull it off, right? They haven't seen her for 4 years, but we have same features.
Okay.
So she's in Russia, right? So she's in Russia. The girl that was missing was in America.
Okay, so she's got to come to America.
Right.
Then.
So the family. So obviously, the police in Russia find her, tells her who she is.
She says who she is.
Right. So she's Esther. Right. So how she was Esther in the first movie. Right. This is how she got the name Esther.
Okay.
And they contact the family in America. The family comes to Russia. They take her back home. Right.
Everyone's happy.
Everybody's happy. Like the father has been like, really just out of it. He couldn't handle it. So there's a mother, father, and older brother.
Okay, so now we're basically we're kind of in the same spot that we were in the first movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, again, they're trying to figure it out like, hey, there's a lot of differences. She speaks Russian now. Obviously, she's got a thick accent because she's been in Russia. She said she was, taken and kidnapped and taken to Russia. And
sex trafficked
right,
or whatever.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's, she's been talking Russian for the last 4 years. She's got the accent, whatever. They take her home. This is an extremely rich family, rich and powerful, right?
Okay.
The father is an artist. They're both artistic, right?
Sure.
So the brother and the mother, you can tell, like, they're not, like, she's different, right? Like, we're happy it's her.
They kind of can see through the guys a little bit,
right.
but the father was so grief-stricken
right,
that
is totally bought in that
right.
this is my daughter, right? So, again, she was gonna, her thought was, I come to America, I'm gonna, just rob this family, kill them, whatever, move on, like she would.
Right.
So there's a police officer that was obviously working with the family to try to find the daughter.
Right.
So the police officer comes in. He's, again, not sure. Like,
everyone's skeptical except for Dad.
Right. Everybody's a little suspect.
Yeah.
So he ends up getting a fingerprint of hers, puts it into the database, realizes, no, this isn't her.
Right.
So she saw that he took the fingerprint. She goes to the house, right? And she's going to kill him, right? And so she does start to attack him.
Yeah.
Right? And so the cop is dying, and she's like, how did you figure it out? He's, obviously, and she's like, as long as, my mother doesn't figure out, he's like, oh, I think she has. All of a sudden, the mother comes in and shoots the cop dead, like starts open firing on the cop. And she's like, yeah, I know you're not my daughter. And we're going to keep this little charade going because my son killed my daughter.
Holy shit.
And so I know you're not my daughter because she was killed by my son, and we covered it up because my son is, a well-to-do...
Right, piece of shit.
Heir, right. He's one of those, born with a silver spoon up his ass.
Right, everything's mine.
Right. So they're like, we're gonna play the game because, my husband is now back. He's out of his grief because you're back.
Right.
So you could have just left. You could have come in, robbed us, left. You didn't.
But here we are.
Here we are now.
Right,
so now you're going to play the game until we're done with you playing the game.
Wow.
So now all of a sudden the mother is, the mother and the son are like, yeah, you're going to just do what we say.
Right.
Or, and then when
What a flip.
Yeah. And then when we're done with you, we're going to kill you.
Right, right.
So all of a sudden, the villain of this story is now like looking at like a hero because now these people are even worse.
Right. Well, I mean, like, whose side do you take at that point?
Exactly.
Right?
So now she's got to kill them, right, to get out of it because now.
Right.
So it ends up happening, right? She ends up.
Well, right. She must because
so she ends up killing everybody.
Yeah.
Obviously, she's at the police station at the end, and at the end, it's like, oh, we found you a new home. Obviously, that leads into the
orphan.
But
wow,
it's another just massive flip. Like again, you never saw it coming. All of a sudden, like, where did that?
Well, you know what's great about that is because the reason I didn't see it was I was like, well, the twist in the orphan was good.
Yes,
but what can they really fucking do?
That's what I thought.
Apparently something.
Apparently they found something, so I recommend that movie.
Yeah, I'll have to. It's on the list. So
yeah. What do you see?
So I caught something called "The Landmine Goes Click."
Okay, I have not heard of this.
Yeah, it's pretty niche. I don't know how the hell I happened across it, but it came out in 2015.
Okay.
It's a Georgian film.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
All right.
So basically, the premise is these Americans go on, to Georgia and the country. For those listening, not the state.
Right.
And they're touring. Right?
Okay.
And it turns out that it's a brother, two brothers, and the brother's girlfriend, and whatever. So it turns out that the other brother is getting with the girl.
Okay.
And so the first brother puts a landmine in the ground. And so the brother that's getting with the girl steps on the landmine.
Okay.
Right? So he's stuck.
Oh.
Can't move, right?
Right.
So the brother's like, I know I know you're cheating on me with him, like, see ya. And he bails.
Okay.
Right? So then this Georgian hunter comes along, and they're trying to figure out what to do. Like, they put the pin back in the landmine. They're trying to dig you can dig a hole and then fall in the hole so the landmine doesn't get you. They're trying all sorts of shit. So the hunter is odd. He's like an odd guy, and he's kind of like, at first he thinks they're lying about it, and then he's like, well, you know, he says to the girl, like, because the guy can't move. You got to get undressed. You want me to help you, like, take your clothes off. So it's that feeling of kind of helplessness, right? Because he can't step off the landmine.
Right.
And so she's kind of doing that shit or whatever, and then it gets to the point where she starts to run away, and the guy goes after her, and the kid like steps off the landmine or whatever, and it doesn't go off.
Oh.
And so the hunter comes, the hunter does what he's going to do to her.
Sure.
And then he comes back and throws her body in the hole.
Okay.
And he says to the kid, like, you were set up. It's a fake landmine. Landmines, as soon as you step on them, they go off.
Okay.
So then it cuts, right? So then who knows how much time, but the kid is traveling, and we see him stop at this town. He's still in Georgia. We see him stop at this town, and these two girls the mother and daughter are helping him out. They're like, why don't you come in? We'll feed you and all that shit. So they're giving him soup, whatever kind of soup it is. And then the hunter comes in.
Oh.
And so basically the remainder of the film is the kid found the hunter, and now he's got a gun, and he's going to do the same kind of shit. What a dark. It was so dark. Like, it was just one of those, I've seen all sorts of Eastern European like horror flicks and stuff.
Right.
I watched that Hellhole one, which I liked. I mean, I've seen Serbian film. I think that's more just gore porn.
Right.
But there's just something about the tone that's almost hopeless.
Right.
And so, I don't think it was 5 out of 5 or anything, but just, with the conclusion, I just sat there and I was like, whew.
Yeah, it sounds dark.
Yeah, pretty good. Like, way under the radar for me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I never even heard of it.
But it's on Prime. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's in English. It's not in but definitely it's pretty tight. It's like an hour and 15, hour 20.
Yeah, perfect.
Pretty tight.
Perfect.
And just good. Just good. Very, very nihilistic, I would say.
Awesome.
But what else is kind of hopeless?
What's that?
The old House of Mouse.
Oh, completely hopeless.
We have these, like, at least I do. You have these kind of ideas in your head, right? Like Google, Apple, these kind of, cyberpunk-esque corporations that are ruling the world.
Right.
You're like, they're never going to go anywhere.
No, you would think that.
It took 2 years to put this company on a fucking path of destruction that they may not survive from.
Yeah. It's crazy to think about. It's crazy when you think of, again, when I think of Disney, I think back to my childhood, and I think back of, Disney. When you think of family entertainment, you think Disney, and you think with all that they put out, and you think of, what all the years even prior to me being born, what Disney meant to generations upon generations.
Snow White and all that. And look, here's the thing, because again, there is a lot of problematic shit, right?
Sure.
Song of the South is
sure,
but it's still there's still an element that I say, right? Like Peter Pan, they have that thing with the Native Americans that's super racist.
Yeah,
but Peter Pan is still an important work,
right?
From even just from an artistic standpoint.
But it's wholesome overall, though. Like, even with the racist elements or the problematic elements, it's still wholesome. I think we have to, in the whole,
right? And it should be okay to acknowledge that those elements are problematic,
right? But
you don't cancel the whole thing.
Exactly.
But I just cannot believe. I mean, what did they came out the other day and said 7,000 employees?
7,000, yep. Yeah, that's a lot. And again, you put that on top of the hiring freeze that's been taking place for the last few months because they can't afford to do anything.
Yeah, it's all a bunch of bullshit, but whatever.
Right. But it's like, that's massive. Like,
Well, right, and then on top of that, now Iger's talking about maybe selling Hulu. He said it's on the table.
Right. Well, so I think I mentioned this to you before. If not, so as you know, Hulu, there's the small stake in that Comcast owns of Hulu.
Right.
So
like Disney owns the lion's share of it now.
Right.
They bought out the other it was a three company product.
Right.
They bought out the other company, and now it's, what is it, like 20% or something?
Yeah, it's a very small percent.
Yeah.
So in 2024,
So next year.
right at the beginning of the year, Comcast has a provision in this deal that they can force Disney to buy the company valuated to what it's going to be, which is estimated to be about $9 billion that Comcast is going to make Disney pay to buy that rest of that share. They're contractually obligated to do it come 2024 if Comcast pulls that trigger.
Which I don't see why they wouldn't.
Oh, they are absolutely going to be doing it.
For sure. So that's very interesting. I think what's kind of crazy is, I mean, how does Disney walk away from that?
I do not know. I don't know that they can.
Like, a even healthy $9 billion isn't a joke.
No, not at all.
But they're not healthy. They are hemorrhaging. Overseas, they have lost, what was it, like 2.3 million subscribers.
Yeah.
Since the start of the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
They said that it's growing in the U.S., but everywhere else people are jumping ship.
No, and they're hemorrhaging money in every facet, whether it's Disney Plus, whether it's the movies, whether it's the parks.
So I know we kind of really come at Marvel, right? But I mean, aside from Avatar,
yes.
Can you give me a home run that Disney has had?
No.
There's nothing that you go,
and
oh yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is that the only reason they have Avatar is because they bought Fox,
right.
And they bought Fox for so much money, that well beyond what they should have paid, that, you know, even the success of Avatar 2 doesn't make up for how much they overspent to get Fox in the first place.
Right. And that's kind of how you got to look at that. And it's like, look, the Marvel purchase was very, very smart. Star Wars and Lucas and all that stuff. It was smart, but you didn't do anything. It was
smart
with
at the time that you bought it. It was smart.
Right. It was smart to own the property,
right?
And you got it for a song.
Yeah. I mean, $4 billion
for Star Wars
is something that you should have made back pretty quickly.
They made their money back.
No, but I'm just saying, like, you think about $4 billion to get Star Wars, you're like, that's kind of a drop in the bucket considering how much I can make back.
But they didn't pay much for Marvel either.
No, well, that's because Marvel was almost on the verge of full bankruptcy at the time.
But the thing of it is, right, is that so the reports are coming out about Ant-Man now.
Yes.
And this is what I've heard. I haven't seen it yet, obviously.
No.
But I've heard that Jonathan Majors is great.
Yes.
But again, he's good in everything.
Sure.
I heard that for the most part, the rest of it kind of sucks.
Yes, and I heard the same. And I heard, and whether this is true or not, I heard that this was a movie that was supposed to be part of Phase 4, but they changed it to Phase 5 because Phase 4 was such an epic failure that they thought they needed to jumpstart, right? And they decided, hey, we're going to pretend this is actually, we're going to kick Phase 5 off earlier. The problem is that Ant-Man Quantumania is really a part of Phase 4.
So you're still getting that Phase 4 energy.
Exactly.
Now I also heard that it's nothing, like, if you saw the end of Loki, you'll be just as fine.
Yes, I heard that too.
So it's just like, what are you doing? Like, you need to start this off with a bang.
You needed to. You needed an absolute home run to kick off Phase 5, and it sounds like you did not get it.
Yeah, but Ant-Man isn't the right choice anyway. What they should have done is waited until Guardians 3 was ready, and you kick it off with that, because you need to get people excited.
Right. You do. But I don't, and here's the other thing too, right? Even thinking about that, that Guardians 3 is the end.
Yep.
You know that James Gunn is gone forever.
Right.
So as good as I think Guardians will be, everybody knows it's a conclusion, right? So it'll do well for in and of itself, it'll do well.
Right.
But then what do you do with that going forward? And people are going to look at it like, well, what is it going to happen going forward with this?
But it's the same thing with Phase 4, right? Like we started off Phase 4 with No Way Home.
Yeah.
Right? Well, for the most,
yeah.
What was there, one before that or whatever?
Well, it was the No Way Home. Black Widow was kind of the
No Way
even
Home
though
was the first one in theaters.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the Black Widow then streamed.
No, it came out in theaters and streaming at the same time, but it was after No Way Home.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And there was a lot of excitement for No Way Home.
Yes.
It
and
hit,
rightfully so.
Right, it hit where it needed to hit. You had all the nostalgia and everything.
Right.
And like, is it the best Spider-Man movie? No.
No.
I think now that we've had some distance from it, we can say that it's very good.
Yeah.
But it's not the best.
Well, no. I mean, Spider-Man 2 is obviously the best, and the only
not of this series. The
no.
Spider-Man 2.
But again, No Way Home wouldn't exist if that didn't happen.
Right. And it was cool to see Ock and Goblin and everything. Right. Like, there was a lot of good shit with that. But then Doctor Strange flopped.
Right.
So it's like you had momentum. People were excited again. Mm-hmm. And then you dropped Doctor Strange, which was really a Scarlet Witch movie, if we're being honest.
Sure. Right. Because you had to watch WandaVision to know what was going on, even though Kevin Feige told us we didn't.
Right. And she was kind of front and center of the, because he was off in the multiverse, but whatever. So the flame starts to die, and then Love and Thunder comes out, and people are like, oh, yeah, nah, I'm good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then, but you also had Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, which no one really gave a shit about.
But it wasn't bad. It was meh. Again, it was like Phase 4 is the phase of meh.
But then you had the Eternals, which was a flop, a bona fide flop.
A bad flop. Because you know what it is, though, is that they're too niche.
Right.
Like even Moon Knight didn't do what they were hoping.
Moon Knight did terrible in the ratings.
They got another season.
Yeah, well, because they're limited to what they're going to put on Disney Plus, and everything.
Like Blade is in a weird fucking spot.
Yeah. Well, because everything. You know what? I'll be amazed if She-Hulk doesn't get 3 seasons, because Kevin Feige just has a plan, and it doesn't matter. He's just going to go with his plan, and he'll go flop after flop after flop, because Kevin Feige is not going to be told I'm wrong, or that my vision is wrong.
The only one that can tell him is Iger.
Right. Exactly. That's it. So, and Iger may or may not tell him. But
I just don't like. Here's the thing: is that regardless of how you feel about She-Hulk, right? Where does season 2 even go? Where do you even go with that show?
Well, that's the thing. I don't. After watching seeing the majority of these, it should realistically, every Marvel television show should lead to another character's television show. There should be no season 2s of any of these shows. There's not enough good story to tell to make it compelling. But you should take.
Loki
you should go
season
from
2. Like what else do you need to tell?
Right.
Like if it's just going to be the more of the same shit, where they're just jumping from multiverse to multiverse, and we're seeing all the different versions of Loki again. Well, you already did that.
Right. Yeah. Like if you want to take, obviously you had. In Hawkeye, right? You had Kingpin, right? And you had Echo. And then you can, from there, you're going to go into the Echo series, which is going to have Kingpin and Daredevil. Right. And from there, you're going to go into Daredevil.
Which is going to be trash.
Right. It's going to be terrible, because that Daredevil that we saw in She-Hulk is your new Daredevil, and that is pure trash.
And it's all the worse that it's Charlie Cox.
Right. That makes it all the worse, because we know what his Daredevil is.
In Spider-Man, the jury was still out.
Sure.
Because he was still kind of...
Yeah, you had no idea what exactly he was going to do
Right, he was
as Daredevil.
Right, he showed up. There was like just a little element of danger there, and you're like, all right, cool.
Yeah, but that's all these Marvel shows should do. And then like Werewolf by Night, right? We have Man-Thing. Now there should be something. The next show should come out of that to be something where Man-Thing is
Feige
included.
didn't really have his fingers in that.
No, which you can tell because it was the only good thing that came out.
The thing of it is, right, is that I think a lot of times what happens is these creators lose the plot.
Right.
And it's like you want to constantly be making everything bigger and better and more of a spectacle, and you can't. Like an example I give is this, right? A $6,000 Rolex, right? Watches don't really get better than that. Like, you can get a $100,000 watch, but as far as the quality goes and everything,
right,
it's going to be the same as the $6,000 Rolex.
Right. But the problem is that Feige pushed quantity over quality.
Right. Still with the mentality that everything had to amp up.
Right. And so he overworked the VFX crew.
So they all bailed, and now no one wants to work VFX for Disney.
But the VFX were terrible in Phase 4
because no one wants to work.
Right, and because they gave such little time to actually perfect it, like they did in the first 3 phases, that the quality you could see was awful.
It is not easy to do that shit.
Oh no, it's extremely difficult of a job, and if you don't have the amount of time allotted that you need,
took Cameron, what, 13
years in between, yeah.
Right. It's not, VFX is not a joke.
No. So you're overworking. Now you don't have anybody that wants to work for you because you overworked and underpaid them. And the
it comes out like shit, and it's like, I don't want my reputation to be tied up with this shit.
Right, but they are afraid of their reputation because people are complaining how shitty it looks, and these VFX houses are saying, that's not our fault.
Right.
Blame Marvel.
Right. They gave us 6 months to do a job that should take 2 years.
And then they'll go on to their next project, and you'll see the difference, and they'll be like, yep, it is totally all Kevin Feige's fault.
Right. And it's bizarre to me, and it's disappointing but not surprising to see that Ant-Man is not going to be great. I mean, is there anything Marvel you're excited for right now?
No. I mean, I really can't say that anything, like I said, as much as I want to see, like even Deadpool 3, right? And I don't even know how far along or away that is. Fantastic Four, right? I'm excited, and then I think about, I know what they're going to do. It's all going to be diversity and inclusion. It's all going to be jokes and quips. It's all going to be lighthearted
that's
fun.
That's what bothers me, is the diversity and inclusion shit. If it changes the character, I don't like it. But aside from that, I don't care.
Sure. I mean, if it fits it, it's fine. But
what I don't like...
we know it's going to be that.
Right, and everybody has to be Tony Stark.
Right.
Which I fucking hate.
Right. But the thing is, what bothers me is... I don't mind if Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman are a person of color. The problem is they're not looking for the best actor and actress. They're looking for diversity. The best of that pot.
Right.
That's
checking,
it, not
they're
the
just
best.
making sure that their checklist is achieved.
Right.
So we got Mando coming out now.
Yep.
Which I think it looks fine. I think it'll probably be another fine show.
It'll be fine. But again, it's going to be fine, except it's been compromised because Favreau came out and said, I did not want Grogu going with Mando. I wanted him to be trained by Luke.
Right.
And Kathleen Kennedy stepped in and said, nope, I want to sell toys and merchandise, so she made them change it, and now it's not the vision that Favreau and Filoni had anymore.
No, the whole point was to get rid of Grogu for a time, get him trained up by Luke, bring back, kind of the Luke Skywalker that we love, because it's like, look, he trained Grogu.
Right.
Grogu is a force to be reckoned with.
Right.
And then you have the unique opportunity of doing a whole season of Mando.
Right.
But instead, we're getting Well, I have to go get the kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to Mandalorian.
Right. Yeah. So it's
Mandalore.
It's going to be okay, but it's again, season 2 wasn't as good as season 1. Season 3 will not be as good as season 2.
Right.
It's again, people are going to be like, every year it's going down in quality. We're getting the Kathleen Kennedy effect on everything that Star Wars. Can we please stop making anymore? It's I would rather see it stopped than see it so bastardized and so hated of this beloved franchise. Just let's kill it completely as opposed to putting out this shit.
She is the you ever heard of like Tarantino's philosophy on filmmaking?
Possibly.
So he says that thing like, I'm going to make 10.
Oh, yeah,
and then I'm stopping.
Yes.
Because after 10, like, I'm going to be old. I don't know what the fuck. Like, I'll do something else, but
Sure.
like, I can't make movies anymore.
Yeah.
Because I don't want any of my movies to be shit. Mm-hmm. And as you get older, if you get stuck in a time frame or you surround yourself in a bubble, your art suffers.
Yeah.
And Kathleen Kennedy is the epitome of that.
Right.
She was Spielberg's prodigy. Mm-hmm. And look at what she's done.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, people are... It's sad that people are begging for Star Wars to die.
The thing of it is, right, is that, you can say, oh, well, you just hate it because they're trying to focus more on women. Nope.
No.
Tell me, nobody likes it. Nobody likes this shit.
No. Look, you can't do that in Star Wars with Princess Leia existing in this world.
Right.
You can't.
No.
You cannot say
And having
that
it be Carrie Fisher of all people,
right. You cannot in any way talk Star Wars and say you don't like it because of women when Princess Leia exists in this universe.
It's just bizarre to me.
Yeah,
it's just bizarre.
Totally.
Like, it's another loss. Hopefully the indie reshoots fix it.
I hope so, because it does not sound good.
It's funny, though, because, like, that Phoebe Waller-Bridge or whatever her name is, like, now she's jumping over to Tomb Raider.
Right. Which again, it sounds like that the Indiana Jones television show for Disney Plus must have got scrapped.
Yeah, that's dead.
Yeah.
So what I think is funny is with the Tomb Raider thing. So they released a movie a while back that was closer to the new games that came out, where she wasn't a sex symbol, she was a person.
Right.
And the actress that played her did a fucking phenomenal job.
Yeah.
And the movie was fun.
Yeah, I saw that movie.
It was a
I
fun
thought it was
movie.
good, yeah.
It didn't do great here, but overseas it made some money.
Yeah.
And it was a fun, very true to the source movie.
Yeah, I like the guy that plays the father. I forget his name, but I like that guy in most of the movies he's in.
Yeah, and then, but what ended up happening is, once the actor who plays Lara Croft found out that they're giving this giving it to her, she bailed.
Right.
So it's like the actor who not only looks like the Lara from the games, but acted like her and everything, is going to be replaced by who?
Probably
Phoebe?
Well, she says she's not, but that being said, I have a hard time believing that she won't, because if she was going to be the star of Indiana Jones, the TV series, and that potentially is dead, I can't see why she wouldn't then jump into doing this.
She's not built for that role.
No, she isn't. She's not built for any role. She's just one of the...
Yeah, she's fine as like a like that, what was she, Marvelous Miss Maisel or whatever?
Yeah, she's
fine in that fucking role.
But that's what she is. She's this dry English humor.
Right.
That,
Which is fine.
Right. You can do that and you could do your, period pieces and whatever else, but
you are
not
built to be an adventurer.
Yeah, you're not, and you don't have the
chops.
You don't have the chops, and you don't have the personality,
right?
And you don't have, what we would be looking for in this genre. She does not possess those skills.
No.
That's not what, so, and everybody knows it. And everybody that's seen the movie so far has said this is one of the worst movies that we've ever seen.
But the thing of it is like, some of the onus needs to go on her a little bit.
Sure, absolutely it does.
Like, you should know what you can and can't do.
Right.
And what you can't do is be Lara Croft.
Right. And again, she hasn't officially said she is going to be it, but what do we know of this person to say she can even in the writer director chair
Well, the
pull
thing
this
of it
off?
is, right? The thing of it is that I've been singing the praises of The Last of Us.
Yes,
They've made,
and they deservedly so.
right, and they've made some changes, but all of the changes they have made have added to the lore.
Right.
Because the guy that, is intimately involved is the co-CEO of the video game company that
Right.
made the series. So the point of it is that if you're going to adapt a video game and not, like, if you said to me, oh yeah, Phoebe Waller-Bridge plays, Square Enix's Tomb Raider all the time, I'd be like, all right, cool. I don't think she's even turned it on.
No.
So if you don't know who these characters are and you don't know the stories and you don't know the setting, you cannot. How can you tell a good story? We're seeing
can't.
it with The Witcher,
Right. You can't.
which is dead. The Witcher is dead.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, they already said it ends at season 5. If
Well,
it even
and
gets
the
to
only
season
reason-
5.
So here's what I heard. I heard that season 3's coming out, and the exec said, "This better wow people."
Right.
If season 4 gets made, it's going to be season 4 and season 5. They're
Right.
going to do them. They're going to film them back to back. I think what's going to happen is whatever she's done, whatever Laura Hisrich has done, is such a bastardization that people are going to be fucking furious.
Yeah.
And the thing of it is, right, with the Velma thing, I stopped watching it because I was only watching it so we could talk about it for the content.
Right.
But how many times can you say, yeah, it sucks?
Right. Well, that's the thing. What you're getting, and we've talked about this a million times, you're just getting people to write their story stealing an IP that already exists,
Right, but
with nothing to do with the actual
point to it
IP.
though, is that you can't even really get content out of it because it's the same thing over. Yeah, it's really bad.
Right. No, that's all you can. Look, again, it finds ways to insult everybody and
Right,
disgust
how-
everybody, but that's all you can.
but
You can't
do
say
a
that every
season 2.
week.
You can pay for a season 2.
Sure.
But who's turning up for that?
Well, I mean, no one's going to turn up for it.
Like in a year or whatever, if it were to come out, you'll have the critics that review it, but nobody's going to give a fuck because
No.
you've already shocked the audience with how bad it is.
Yeah.
That trick only
Yeah.
works once.
No, the reason why The Last of Us is working so well,
And it week over week.
right, is because you are staying true to the source material, making some changes that don't overall change the story.
Right. Some people were mad about Bill, getting killed or killing himself or whatever.
Yeah.
But you told an amazing love story between two men.
Right.
And
Which wasn't the focal point.
No, not at all. It was about two people that loved each other, and it killed. And you've added to that character, and the plot point stayed the same.
Right, because the plot point stayed the same, and that's why everybody will turn up. This wasn't, those two guys are the names of the guys from the game, but that is completely different, would never happen in the game. Complete bastardization of what I love.
Right.
That's what's happening too much of. It's just by name only.
But that's
the
what
content
Willow is
hasn't
too.
right. But all of it, the friggin' Lord of the Rings show, Rings of Power, it's all the same thing. It's using the
Rings
name.
of Power is more guilty of just being boring.
Well,
I think a lot of the world is Tolkien-esque.
Sure.
But I just think ultimately it's boring. I think that they did Sauron a huge disservice. I think Galadriel was written terribly.
Yeah, but it's just you're taking the IP, you're using the names, and you're making a story that has nothing to really do with the actual story, the novel, the game,
the problem
whatever.
is you're getting people that are involved with this sort of thing that don't care about it.
Right.
And when you have behemoth properties like this, that doesn't work.
No. Because again, this isn't a thing where you're trying to create this brand new IP that no one's ever heard of, hoping that it takes off.
Right.
You have a gigantic fan base that is waiting to watch this drop, and when it does, and if you're doing what you're doing to these properties, the results are all the same. Every podcast we're doing, we're talking about another of these shows that is getting destroyed because they're just doing the same thing over and over again. And then you'll get this one unicorn like The Last of Us.
Well, the hope is that they'll look at The Last of Us as the new benchmark.
I would hope so.
Because the formula's there. It's not like they're hiding what they're doing.
No. The formula's there, and the formula has been there for many, many years.
I think what'll be interesting, because obviously anything that's going to come out of HBO, I would say, is going to be true to the source at this point.
It appears so.
I would be surprised if it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, well, they've had two. You think about it, they've had 2 out of 3 big winners. I mean, the House of Dragon and now The Last of Us. Velmer is obviously a flop, so I think HBO realizes
their live action has done well.
Killed it.
Right.
Yeah.
So with Amazon getting God of War, and as big of a company, Amazon's one of the biggest companies, right?
Right.
But that's Sony's baby. Last of Us and God of War are Sony's those are the PlayStation children.
Right.
So I can't imagine that they would allow Amazon to bastardize God. And God of War is it's tricky because Kratos he's very masculine,
Yes.
And he's very toxically masculine. But the reason he's so good in this new series is because he grows.
Right.
Right? He grows away from that toxicity.
Right.
That's the story.
But the thing is, if you don't have that masculine toxicity,
well, then you don't have the growth.
Right. And then you don't have the story.
Right. So I don't know what their plan is. My hope, if they're smart, they'll get Cory Balrog and, I forget what his name is. Matt Stevens, I think, directed this new one, in a room, just like they had Neil Druckmann, and have them help flesh it out. Because if they don't, and we get another Rings of Power,
Yeah. No, you're going to see another massive flop if you don't do it that way. It's just going to be another property that's dead and buried with bastardizing the content.
All right. Well, I think with that, we'll put this one to bed.
Okay.
I know we wanted to talk a little about DC, but we'll have to save it for next time. What do you got going on?
Just drawing away. Just making sure we get some content out every single week.
Yep.
Making just making some
making some art. Lion Man.
Yeah, a very obscure, but
that was pretty.
We're celebrating Black History Month.
Yep.
So we got the first ever black superhero. So
wow.
Dove deep for some appreciation of Black History Month.
How old is that? That's got to be like 60s, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Around that time frame.
The drawing was good. I really liked it.
Thank you.
So, you know where we're at. CatalystCrafting.com is the main site. Been slowly adding all the products onto there as well. Catalyst Creations NH is the Etsy store. I think we're at almost 950.
Wow.
On the orders.
That's great.
Yeah, and we're working with some brands now a little bit more and more, so that's pretty exciting. We got a couple of things in the works.
Yeah, a couple of exciting things.
We'll hold on to them for now, but they're coming. And as always, I mean, are you playing Hogwarts Legacy? Do you think that playing it makes you transphobic? Have you seen Orphan Kills or The Landmine Goes Click? What did you think? Are you a fan of what Disney is doing with their properties? Do you think that they're in the death throes or they're going to be able to pull it out? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe, subscribe to the YouTube, subscribe to the social platforms. Let's keep it going. We're growing on the podcast, so keep listening, share it with your friends, and all right, crew, we'll catch you on the next one.